Heartwarming moment, Black CEO revealed incredible strength after being told to wait outside. It was a bright morning in downtown Chicago, and the sun poured over the city like liquid gold. Marcus Taylor, a 38-year-old Black CEO with a vision, was filled with hope as he headed to a crucial meeting with potential investors. His tech startup aimed to uplift underprivileged communities, something he poured his heart into every single day. But today felt different. It felt electric. As he walked, he couldn't help but think of his team, many of whom had faced struggles akin to his own. Together, they nurtured dreams planted in the fertile soil of resilience. As Marcus approached the towering high-rise that housed the potential gateway to his dreams, a voice interrupted the rhythm of his exhilaration. "Wait outside," the guard barked, eyes narrowing as if gauging a threat. Just those two words hit him like a slap, resonating in the depths of his gut, the prejudice and misunderstanding of his identity. For a moment, he froze on the sidewalk, heart pounding. The weight of that moment was thin, heavy, full of judgment. He recalled his childhood, his mother, who worked 2 jobs so they could eat, her hands calloused but her spirit untamed, and his father, a steadfast veteran, instilling in him the importance of perseverance, the quiet strength of a man imbued with dignity. A swell of warmth washed over him alongside a pulse of indignation. How could ignorance still thrive in a city rich with diversity? How many dreams remained unfulfilled because of this very bias that struck at his core? As he lingered outside, the scene unfolded like an old film reel. Neighbors from his childhood passed by, oblivious, each face a reminder of the community that raised him. How many of them shared his dreams? Struggled against the same odds? He could feel the collective strength beneath the surface, yearning to break free from these invisible chains. He snapped out of his reverie when he spotted the investors arriving, their polished suits glistening under the Chicago sun, completely unaware of the powerful narrative unfolding just outside their reach. An inner debate raged inside him, fold under the weight of their indifference or confront it head-on. Taking a deep breath, he decided to confront the misunderstanding. When the guard finally let him enter, the atmosphere buzzed with potential, but he stood firm, presence unwavering. Speaking with conviction, Marcus began to share not just his accomplishments but his journey, the dreams of countless marginalized individuals he represented. The investors, initially skeptical, shifted in their seats, their expressions morphing as they leaned into the weight of his words. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As he concluded his story, a transformative silence filled the room, heavy with unspoken promises. Marcus felt an all-consuming mix of hope and doubt as he realized the potential of this meeting. Could they grasp the urgency of a narrative urging inclusion and fairness? Could they see beyond their biases and embrace a revolution in the business landscape? His heart raced with anticipation and fear, standing for those who dare to dream. Did he have enough strength to push against the walls of prejudice? The meeting's outcome hung like a pendulum, swaying between ignorance and understanding, leaving readers eager to discover whether Marcus could transform not only his own fortune but that of his entire community. The silence in the room was palpable. Marcus glanced from one investor to the next, their expressions shifting from skepticism to something more thoughtful. He could feel hope flickering alive, and it filled him with a sense of urgency. This was his moment to make a difference, not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever been sidelined or overlooked. "Let me share a story," he said, pulling everyone back into his narrative. "Last month, I met with a group of young entrepreneurs from Southside Chicago. They had brilliant ideas but lacked access to funding and resources. Their passion ignited something in me. I realized that every dollar I secure for this startup can unlock potential throughout our communities." As he spoke, Marcus noticed the investors leaning in closer, their postures relaxed as walls began to crumble. He shared the story of Kalia, a teenager who developed an app designed to help students find scholarships. He talked about the grit and determination it took for her to bring that idea to life, and how with the right resources, she could inspire a generation. "I'm not just asking you to invest in tech, I'm asking you to invest in people who can change the world," he added, his voice rising with passion. "A diverse team doesn't just represent our community, it revolutionizes industries. It brings fresh ideas that can help all of us grow." The investors exchanged glances now, their disbelief muted as they absorbed his message. One older man, a gray-haired veteran of the industry, finally spoke up. "Marcus, if I understand you correctly, you're requesting us to step out of our comfort zones, to invest in something different. Something unpredictable." "Exactly," Marcus replied, sensing the tide turning. "We're not in a time where we can afford to take the easy road. Social responsibility isn't just a buzzword, it's an urgent call to arms for those of us who can make a difference." He could feel the atmosphere shift, energy crackling as though they were uncovering a shared vision. But with that hope came new challenges, the kind of challenges that would require more than just investment. They needed a leap of faith. The room was quiet again, but this time it was charged with the electricity of possibility. Marcus's heart raced as he caught sight of the investor's faces, a mix of contemplation and interest. Would they take the leap? Would they dare to believe in what had long been dismissed? Suddenly, the anticipation felt almost tangible, like a storm brewing before a downpour. The older man cleared his throat. "Let us delve deeper into this. We need to see how we can support your vision." A surge of relief washed over Marcus, but he quickly reminded himself that this was only the beginning. The fight against bias and ignorance wasn't confined to one meeting. It would take continued effort, accountability, and connection. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady, "but I do have a favor to ask. This journey isn't just about me, it's about everyone behind me, every entrepreneur with an untold story." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Can we commit to a broader conversation? One that includes not just business leaders but also the voices from those very communities we want to uplift?" This time, the energy in the room shifted again, this time towards agreement. Nods passed between them, igniting a spark of realization that sometimes, the bravest thing one can do is listen. As the meeting continued, Marcus felt a weight lift off his shoulders. They were moving beyond mere investment, they were beginning to consider a legacy of change. But deep down, he knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. What if they failed to take the necessary steps? What if the obstacles were more insurmountable than he imagined? With trust forming slowly like the dawn after a long night, he couldn't help but wonder how far they could go together, if they could harness this moment of awakening into something transformative. Marcus's heart fluttered with the possibilities, for today was just the start. What would tomorrow bring? Now that the conversation had shifted? The next day dawned with a tentative optimism. Marcus awoke earlier than usual, his mind racing with the events that had unfolded. The meeting from yesterday replayed in his thoughts like a highlight reel, sparking his determination. He could almost hear the echoes of the investors' reactions, their nods of agreement, the cautious belief beginning to bloom. He slipped into his favorite worn-out hoodie and headed to a local cafe. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped him as he walked through the door, that familiar warmth comforting his nerves. He spotted Kalia sitting at a corner table, her laptop open and an impressive array of colorful sticky notes scattered around. The moment she saw him, her face lit up, and that bright smile filled him with hope. "Marcus!" she exclaimed, waving him over. "I've been waiting for you. You won't believe the progress I made on the app." He joined her, excitement bubbling within him like the coffee percolating nearby. As she detailed her improvements, he savored the energy she radiated. It was contagious, igniting his own passion anew. "Every detail matters, Kalia," he encouraged her, instinctively leaning in closer. "Your story can help others like you." Let it shine, and it will inspire. Their conversation flowed, bouncing between tech updates and dreams of community impact. But then, Kalia's expression turned serious as she caught a glimpse of Marcus's contemplative gaze. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice softening. Marcus sighed, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. "I'm just thinking about yesterday. It's a lot of responsibility now. If we don't deliver, it all could fade away into just another what if." Kalia shook her head. "You can't think that way. You've already made a difference by just believing in us. It's like you said, every dollar can unlock potential." Her conviction grounded him. He realized then that fear shouldn't overshadow hope. It was alright to feel anxious, it meant he cared. "Do you think we can really change this?" he asked, his earnestness echoing the uncertainty he felt. "Absolutely," Kalia affirmed, her eyes twinkling with determination. "But we have to keep pushing. Once we start, we can't stop until it becomes real." Marcus nodded, feeling fortified by her spirit. He prided himself on being resilient, but seeing that same fire in Kalia sparked something deeper within him. He wasn't in this alone, and they were far from finished. Later that afternoon, as he walked home, Marcus felt lighter. He envisioned a meeting that included Kalia and others who shared similar struggles and stories waiting to be told. He realized the bigger picture wasn't just about investment but an ecosystem where every voice had worth. As he arrived at his apartment, a message popped up on his phone, pulling him out of his daydreams. It was from an investor who had hardly spoken during the meeting. "Can we arrange a follow-up? I'd like to know more about including community voices in your proposal." His heart raced again. Was this the momentum they needed? As Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, surrounded by unfinished plans and inspiration-filled notebooks, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. But a nagging question lingered in the back of his mind: would they truly listen? The commitment to creating change was profound. His desire to elevate others had ignited a movement, but did he have the strength to navigate the complexities that lay ahead? With tomorrow fast approaching, there was only one way to find out, and he was ready to take that leap. Marcus woke up the next day with a sense of urgency pulsing in his veins. The sunlight filtered through his window, casting stripes of warmth across his bed, but he barely noticed. He had a meeting to prepare for, a follow-up with that investor that could tip the scales in their favor. This wasn't just about him, it was about Kalia, their shared vision, and everyone whose voices needed to be heard. He dashed through breakfast, swirling thoughts of strategy and community engagement in his mind along with the taste of toast. He couldn't shake a mix of excitement and anxiety, and as he showered, he found himself running through potential questions the investor might throw at him. Would they value the integration of community voices? Would they see that this was more than just a tech venture? Once dressed, he glanced at himself in the mirror, adjusting his tie with determination. "You've got this," he whispered, trying to boost his confidence. With a deep breath, he stepped out of the apartment, heart racing, ready to seize the day. The cafe where he and Kalia met was bustling even more than yesterday. The chatter of conversations floated in the air, and the smell of coffee was invigorating. Kalia was already at their usual table, her laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard. She looked up as he approached, her eyes bright with excitement. "Did you see the response from the community forum?" she asked, practically bouncing in her seat. "We have more supporters than I expected. People are excited to share their stories." A wave of relief washed over him. "That's amazing, Kalia. We can use those voices to show the investor how serious this is." As they reviewed the feedback together, Kalia's enthusiasm became infectious, and Marcus felt the weight lifting off his shoulders. Their shared purpose was palpable, a spark igniting the possibility of change. But doubt crept back in as they brainstormed. "Do you really think he'll understand?" Marcus's voice was softer now. "These stories, they're powerful, but they're also raw. What if he's just looking for numbers? Kalia looked at him, her expression resolute. Then we'll show him the numbers that matter. The stories behind them. They're not just statistics, they're lives, dreams, and heartbreaks. We have to be brave enough to show him that. He couldn't help but smile at her passion. You're right. We need to show the human side of this. We're all in this together. Hours flew by as they crafted their presentation. They blended heartfelt narratives with critical data, the perfect mix to illustrate the depth of their mission. With every element they added, Marcus felt more confident. This was not just a pitch, it was an invitation for change. Later that evening, Marcus sent a final message to the investor, confirming their meeting. His heart raced, thinking about how many people were depending on this moment. It wasn't just about gaining funding, it was about ensuring that everyone had a place at the table. That night, as he lay in bed, he reflected on how far they had come. The daunting fears were still there, but they held a new weight. The fear of failure mingled with a fierce desire to succeed for the sake of others. Would their voices be heard? As he drifted off to sleep, Marcus held on to the thought that together, they could shatter the silence. But with dawn breaking and a meeting looming ahead, he would soon learn if their stories had the power to change a perspective, or if they would remain unheard once more. The morning light cracked through the blinds, nudging Marcus awake with a sense of purpose. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes and glanced at the clock. It was time. As he prepared for the day, the gravity of the upcoming meeting settled on him like a heavy cloak. Would today be the day they began to shift the tides for those who often felt invisible? He arrived at the investor's office earlier than scheduled, a decision driven by his restless energy. The view from the lobby was stunning. Skyscrapers stretched toward the heavens, and the hustle of the city below vibrated with life. Yet, all he felt was a tight knot in his stomach. He took a moment to breathe, forcing himself to focus. "Remember why you're here," he murmured to himself, just before the receptionist beckoned him to follow. They passed through a long, sterile hallway, the walls decorated with abstract art that felt disconnected from the human urgency he lived and breathed. It seemed to mock him. When they stepped into the meeting room, Marcus's heart pounded. Kalia was already seated, her laptop at the ready, and the investor, a poised middle-aged man with sharp features, sat across from them, flipping through some papers. He looked up, his expression unreadable. "Marcus, Kalia. Thank you for coming." He leaned back in his chair, giving them a scrutinizing look, as if sizing them up. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Marcus took a deep breath and started, laying the groundwork of their presentation with clear objectives. He spoke about the community engagement that had surged in recent weeks, highlighting the stories of individuals whose voices echoed with urgency and hope. As he presented, he could feel the weight of Kalia's supportive gaze on him. She nodded along, encouraging him with silent affirmations. The more he spoke, the more animated Kalia became, chiming in with heartfelt anecdotes, painting vivid pictures of lives impacted by their vision. The investor's expression remained mostly stoic, but occasionally, Marcus caught a flicker of interest in his eyes, especially when Kalia passionately recounted a mother's struggle to find support for her mentally ill daughter. "And this is only one story," she emphasized, "there are thousands more just like it." Just as they were hitting their stride, the investor raised a hand, signaling them to pause. "I have to admit these stories are powerful." He leaned forward, the lines on his forehead deepening. "But what you're asking for is a significant investment. What's your proof that this will actually make an impact?" Marcus felt a jolt, the rising fear clawing at him. "We have the data," Kalia cut in fiercely. "We have more than data. We have lives at stake. This isn't just a business, it's a movement." That was it. Something stirred within Marcus. Their presentation had been about numbers, but here it was about passion, about real change. What if we let some of them talk?" he suggested impulsively, his pulse quickening. What if we could invite a few community members to share their stories? Their voices matter more than our pitch. The investor looked skeptical, his brow furrowing further. But Marcus pressed on, adrenaline fueling his words. Let them come in and speak. Let them tell you what this means for them. You need to hear it straight from the source. A silence fell, thick with possibility. Marcus could feel the questions stirring in the investor's mind, a slower roll of realization dawning. Would he take the leap? Would he welcome the stories, the raw, human heartbeats into that sterile space? As the investor's face softened, Marcus's heart raced with hope, suddenly uncertain about what would happen next. It was the moment that could steer everything in the right direction, or send them crashing down. Let us think about this. The investor trailed off, processing. Would they finally be heard? Would the power of their community stories change the course of their lives? The air in the meeting room felt charged, almost electric, as Marcus watched the investor process the suggestion. Each second felt like an eternity. Kalia shifted beside him, her eyes wide, reflecting both hope and apprehension. Marcus wanted to urge the man to see the truth that had ignited his own passion. Every second of hesitation from the investor felt like slipping away from a crucial moment. Finally, the investor leaned back in his chair, rubbing the bridge of his nose. You want to invite community members in to pitch me their stories? His voice was low, still weighing the pros and cons. It's unconventional. Sometimes unconventional is necessary, Marcus replied, heart hammering in his chest. These stories, they're everything. They show the urgency behind our mission. The investor's discerning gaze held him, searching for sincerity. Marcus felt exposed. A deep breath steadied him. Think about it. If we want to engage people, we can't just show numbers or graphs. We need to speak in voices that resonate. The man nodded slowly but remained silent, lost in thought. The tension in the room was palpable. Marcus exchanged a glance with Kalia. It was a mixture of uncertainty and cautious optimism. Then, breaking the silence, the investor said, I'll need to discuss this. Your request is unprecedented. Marcus's heart sank. When will you decide? Next week. Send me the names of people you think would be compelling. I'll read their stories. With a flicker of dread in his gut, Marcus knew they might be losing precious momentum. What if we can't wait until then? The investor raised an eyebrow. Then you'll have to find a way to compel me quickly. The finality in his tone made it clear, this wasn't just a suggestion. It was a challenge. They stepped out into the bustling city. Marcus felt like they had just walked off a cliff. Kalia's brow furrowed. Do you think he'll really take that risk? I don't know, Marcus sighed, glancing back at the towering building. But we have to make sure he sees the potential of these voices. If we can't show him their passion, we'll never succeed. People need to feel this change. They began brainstorming as they walked down the street, weaving through the throngs of hurried pedestrians. The energy of the city around them was invigorating, yet Marcus couldn't shake the anxiety looming over him. What stories could they highlight? Who could best embody the struggle? Melissa has a great story, Kalia suggested, her eyes lighting up. Her son is thriving now, but it was a long journey. Everyone needs to know that triumph doesn't come without adversity. Let us get in touch with her, Marcus nodded, feeling a bit of hope rekindle. The thoughts flowed, stories of resilience, determination, and triumph. They scribbled down names, profiles, and backgrounds, the potential of each person fueling them. As they reached a small coffee shop, Kalia's phone buzzed. She looked down, her expression shifting rapidly from excitement to concern. Oh no, she whispered, the color draining from her face. What is it? Jenna, she replied breathlessly. Jenna? Marcus echoed. What happened? Kalia's voice trembled, she's in the hospital. She needs us. Marcus felt a gut punch. Jenna was a fierce advocate for mental health, a vital voice they wanted to include. We have to go to her. Now. The urgency mounted as they dashed toward the hospital. Each step felt resolute yet heavy with dread. What if they lost Jenna's story? What if they lost her? As they entered the hospital, a million questions flooded Marcus's mind. Could Jenna still share her strength? Would this moment mold their future? His heart raced, not just for Jenna, but for everything they represented. Would this setback result in a tipping point, or could they still push forward? In the stark white waiting room, Kalia's hand trembled as she clutched Marcus's. What if? Whatever happens, we will figure it out, Marcus assured her, though inside he battled overwhelming uncertainty. Would Jenna's spirit shine through in this crisis? Fear churned in his stomach, mixing with hope. Their fight was just beginning. Would they be able to harness the raw power of her story after everything? Marcus took a breath, steeling himself for whatever was next. The waiting room was filled with an array of emotions, but the sterile atmosphere couldn't dull the apprehension that crept into Marcus's bones. A nurse walked by, glancing at Kalia and Marcus with a look that mixed sympathy with purpose, but they were too caught up in their own fears to notice. Jenna has fought so hard to be heard, Kalia whispered, her voice quaking like a leaf in the wind. What if she can't rally that strength now? Marcus squeezed her hand, trying to channel all his hope into that small gesture. She's a fighter, Kalia. She wouldn't give up on us now. Just the thought of Jenna's vibrant spirit brought a flicker of warmth inside him. They needed her voice. They needed her light. The minutes dragged on, stretching into a dull haze. These seconds stung like raindrops on bare skin. Each tick of the clock echoed like a reminder of the challenge before them. They couldn't let this opportunity slip away. Finally, a doctor emerged from the hallway, his expression unreadable. Kalia and Marcus shot to their feet, their hearts not just racing but pounding as if trying to escape. Are you here for Jenna Thompson? He asked, his eyes scanning them both. Yes, Kalia replied quickly, desperation lacing her tone. How is she? The doctor's approach softened a little. She's stable, but she's had a rough night. I recommend seeing her one at a time for now. Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline. I'll go first. Kalia nodded, biting her lip. The worry in her eyes was palpable, but there was also determination. You can do this. Tell her we need her. He stepped into the dimly lit room, the beeping of machines a constant reminder of the fragility of life. Jenna lay there, looking smaller than he remembered, her face pale under the fluorescent lights. Yet, the fire in her eyes was unmistakable, even in her weakened state. Jenna? He breathed, moving closer. It's me, Marcus. Marcus, she whispered, her voice faint, but it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. What are you doing here? Just, came to check on you, he said, keeping it light but feeling a wave of emotion crash over him. We're working on the project. You're vital to it, Jenna. We can't do it without your story. She attempted to smile, but the pain flashed across her face. I don't know if I can be the voice you need right now. That's not true, Marcus insisted, his heart flooding with conviction. You're stronger than you know. You fought so hard for others. Don't let this challenge keep you down. Your voice is still powerful, even now. As he spoke, he noticed a spark in her eyes, the breath of life returning. People need to hear what you have to say. Not just to love the triumphs, but to understand the struggles. We're asking them to fund this project to help those who can't, Jenna inhaled sharply, her expression shifting. She needed to channel her fight, her experience. What if I could speak to them? Could I still share my story? Absolutely. A grin slowly spread across Marcus's face, igniting hope. In fact, I think it could be perfect. We can film it here, capture that raw emotion. We can make it something they can't ignore. I'm scared, she admitted, the vulnerability weaving through her words. What if I can't do it? He leaned closer. You can. You will. This is about all of us, about the people we want to help. Jenna took a moment, gathering her thoughts. There was an unmistakable strength flickering back into her gaze. Then let us do it, she said, her voice more resolute. Let us show them what real strength looks like. As Marcus and Jenna spoke, he felt invigorated. Her transformation was tangible, and he knew they could harness that power. When he left the room, he found Kalia waiting, her eyes wide with anticipation. What did she say? Marcus smiled, hope swelling in his chest. She's ready. We're going to capture her story. Kalia's face broke into a relieved smile. Then it's time to move fast. We have to get everything in place. As they stood there, a sense of urgency radiated from them both. What they needed to do was clear, but in the background, Marcus could still feel the specter of the investor's ultimatum hanging over them. Would their hurry pay off? Let us rally the others and get moving, he suggested. Time isn't on our side. But deep down, another question gnawed at him: could they truly harness Jenna's voice when it mattered most? With determination ignited, they set out to pull together the stories that would not only change their lives but the lives of countless others still struggling in silence. In the midst of quick preparations, did they have what it took to turn a crisis into a victory for the community? As they gathered their strength, there was an impending sense that the real challenge was just beginning. The energy buzzed in the hallway as Marcus and Kalia hurried to gather the rest of their team. Each step felt heavy, fueled by a mix of excitement and the weight of their mission. They were on a tight timeline, decisions had to be made quickly. Marcus! Over here! Shouted Dina, their project manager, just a few paces ahead. She stood with her laptop open, frantically tapping the screen. Her energy was contagious, and Marcus felt a spark of determination ignite inside him. There you are! Kalia called out, her voice laced with urgency. We need to get everything set up for Jenna. She's ready to share her story. Dina's eyes lit up, instantly understanding the gravity of the situation. That's incredible. How long do we have? We don't know, Marcus replied, glancing back at the door to Jenna's room. But we need to move fast. We have to get everything in place for when she's ready to speak. As they began strategizing, the hallway filled with other teammates who were equally invested. Each person had their strengths: film editing, sound, lighting, and they all clamored to unite for a common cause. It was a beautiful chaos, alive with purpose. Marcus breathed in deeply, taking a moment to soak it all in. He felt a sense of belonging that he hadn't experienced in a while. They were more than colleagues, they were a family, bound by a shared mission to amplify Jenna's voice. We need to think about how we can make this as real and raw as possible, Kalia suggested, her brow furrowed with concentration. It can't just be about the logistics. It has to resonate emotionally. Agreed, Dina nodded. Let us set up a cozy corner in the recovery room. Something that feels safe, where she can truly express herself. We can use softer lighting to create a more comforting atmosphere. Marcus felt his heart race. They were thinking of everything, every detail mattered in this moment. But just as they began discussing camera angles, a silence fell over them. A familiar figure approached the investor they had been trying to impress, Mr. Harrison. His expression was tight, almost disinterested. What's going on here? He asked, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. Marcus felt a knot form in his stomach. We're setting up an interview with Jenna. She's ready to speak about her experience. Mr. Harrison raised an eyebrow, skepticism written all over his face. You think her story is going to sell? Can she even pull it off? The doubt hung heavy around them, almost suffocating. Marcus locked eyes with Kalia, then Dina. They couldn't let uncertainty creep in now. Jenna's resilience was their beacon. Her story isn't just a product, Marcus found himself passionately defending. It's a catalyst for change. People need to know what she's been through. This is about connecting with those who feel unheard, just like Jenna once did. Mr. Harrison studied him, his expression softening almost imperceptibly. Fine. But make sure it's compelling. People won't fund a project if they don't feel the fire. They watched as Mr. Harrison turned, disappearing down the hallway. A mix of emotions passed between Marcus, Kalia, and Dina, but resolve began to ignite among them. They wouldn't let doubt win. Let us get to work, Kalia said with renewed conviction. We have a story to tell, and we have to do it right. They moved swiftly, setting up the cameras and organizing the space. All the while, the clock ticked on the wall like a metronome, reminding them of the urgency. As they prepared, Marcus could almost feel the weight of Jenna's story settling over them, heavy but hopeful. They were about to step into something monumental. What would Jenna's full story reveal? With everything in motion, Marcus couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that time was slipping through their fingers. Would they rise to this challenge? Could they bear the responsibility of telling a transformative story when it mattered most? As the lights dimmed and final checks were made, their hearts raced. The moment was nearly here. What would Jenna's voice unlock for everyone involved? The air was thick with anticipation as they awaited her return. One truth hung in the air, unspoken yet undeniable: they were standing on the edge of something profound. The door creaked open, drawing everyone's attention like magnets to a pole. Jenna stepped into the room, her eyes wide but focused. There was an unmistakable tension in the air, and Marcus felt it sweep through him like a storm. This was the moment they had been preparing for. She was ready to share, and they needed to be ready to listen. Jenna. Kalia breathed, rushing forward. She enveloped her in a hug, and Jenna seemed to melt into it, if only for a second. When they pulled apart, Jenna's eyes glimmered with a mix of vulnerability and determination. "Thank you for being here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper yet filled with underlying strength. I feel like I can finally talk about it." "Just take your time," Dina reassured, her professionalism sharply evident. "We're here for you." Marcus watched Jenna closely as she took a deep breath. The room, now tailored to her comfort, felt almost sacred. Soft lights cast gentle shadows, allowing her to ease into the space without feeling overwhelmed. All eyes were trained on her, ready to capture every word. "What do you want to share?" Marcus encouraged gently, his heart pounding in anticipation of a story that had the power to shake foundations. Jenna shifted on her feet, her thoughts flying. They had given her this moment, this platform. "I've spent so long waiting for someone to hear me." As Jenna spoke, her voice began to rise, shedding the layers of uncertainty. She recounted her experiences, each word heavy with emotion, yet laced with hope. She talked about the struggles she faced, the doors that had slammed in her face, and the moments where she felt invisible. Marcus found himself captivated, his heart swelling with empathy. Every time Jenna paused to regain her composure, he could see Kalia reaching for a tissue, wiping at her eyes. Dina nodded along, appearing both proud and pained as the story unfolded. "I used to feel like I had to wait my turn, like I wasn't worthy of being heard," Jenna continued, her voice gaining strength. "But what I've realized is that waiting isn't enough. I am worthy, and so is everyone else who feels this way." The room was silent, save for the sound of Jenna's breath filling the space with newfound confidence. Her story transformed from a tale of isolation into a call for action, something that resonated inside each team member. They were breaking through the clouds, coming out into the light together. Encouraged by their reactions, Jenna pressed forward. "I want to make sure no one else has to wait so long like I did." Everyone deserves to have their voice heard, to feel validated. In that moment, the world outside faded. There was nothing else but Jenna and her truth. Each heartbeat echoed a promise. This story was more than just an interview, it was a movement. As Jenna wrapped up, a light breeze seemed to brush through the room. It felt like a reset, an awakening. But just as the sense of hope began to settle, the door swung open with a little too much urgency. Mr. Harrison stormed in, his face etched with tension. "Jenna. I need a word," he interjected, his eyes darting between her and the team. The sudden interruption hung thick in the air, pulling the collective breath from everyone's lungs. Marcus's heart sank. Had the moment of connection been shattered? Jenna's expression faltered, a mix of confusion and concern altering her demeanor. What did he want? Is this really the time? Kalia shot back, her protective instincts kicking in. Mr. Harrison looked at each of them, the fire in his eyes matching the energy in the room. "It's why I'm here," he said firmly. I think I just realized something big." Unease mingled with curiosity as they awaited the next words that would forever change the trajectory of their mission. What revelation was about to change everything they had fought for? As the tension hung precariously in the air, they all sensed that the moment of truth awaited them. Mr. Harrison stood there, his aura shifting, as if he had uncovered a vital realization beneath all the layers of skepticism he'd carried. The moment stretched, heavy and potent, each person in the room holding their breath, mind racing with the possibilities. "Jenna," he continued, his voice far softer now, "the way you spoke, the passion behind your words, it's compelling. You show the urgency of this work like I haven't seen before." Marcus felt a warmth rise in his chest. Could this be the turning point? Could they finally get through to him? "I want to understand," Mr. Harrison said, glancing at Marcus, then back at Jenna. "I want to grasp the true impact of your story." Kalia stepped forward, emboldened. "It's not just her story, it's the stories of countless others. Imagine if those voices were heard, their struggles understood. Your investment can spark a revolution, one that resonates across our communities." The tension in the air lightened, giving way to hope. Marcus could see a flicker of realization dancing in Mr. Harrison's eyes. This wasn't just about numbers or profits any longer, it was about the very fabric of their society, the people. Jenna, still recovering from the surprise of his entrance, straightened her spine and took a deep breath. "I never thought my voice would matter this much," she said, her courage pushing through. "But if this work can change lives, I feel honored to be a part of it." We all would. The energy in the room shifted again, charged with a collective desire for change. Marcus felt it now more than ever. The urgency that had drawn him into this fight was palpable. "What do you need from us?" Mr. Harrison asked, determination creeping into his tone. "If we move forward, we need to ensure this is impactful. We need to include these voices. It won't just be an investment, it needs to cultivate real change." Marcus felt the tides turn, an exhilarating rush surging through him. "We'll gather more stories. We'll showcase the struggles, the triumphs, everything. We'll create a platform that resonates with all those who have been sidelined." Kalia nodded vigorously. "And we can measure it. With transparency, with reports that show the impact on the community." They could feel the engine of movement building beneath them. Mr. Harrison glanced between everyone, a new understanding breaking through. The weight of awareness illuminated their faces, showcasing what true connection could achieve. "All right," he said, the sense of gravity underlying his words. "Let us set up a follow-up meeting with your community members. I want to hear their voices, firsthand. We will work together to see how we can mold this." Cheers erupted, spilling out of Marcus, Kalia, and the rest of the team. The crowd thickened with joy and relief, weaving together the fabric that would hold the community's newfound strength. They were ready to rise up. As Jenna's eyes brightened like sunlit petals opening to the dawn, laughter filled the room, synchronizing their souls in unity. It was as if a weight had lifted, an unshackling of potential. "Thank you, for believing in us," Jenna said, her voice steady and heartfelt, locking eyes with Mr. Harrison. He nodded sincerely. "Thank you for awakening that belief in me. Let us create something beautiful together." In that moment, they all understood they weren't just wrapping up a pitch. They were igniting a movement. They were paving the way toward a future where everyone's voices could be more than whispers, resounding through the streets with power and purpose. As they began brainstorming and laughing, Marcus felt the fire within him blaze brighter. Today was a victory, not just for him but for every individual who felt overlooked. With renewed purpose, he could see the road ahead. It wasn't going to be an easy journey, but with every shared story and every voice uplifted, they would weave a tapestry of change that was as resilient as the community they were serving. Together, they took the first steps into a bright, compelling future, one where barriers would crumble, and every voice would finally echo loud and clear. This is the moment they had all been waiting for. And as this chapter closed, a whole new beginning was just on the horizon. Now, if you felt the energy of this powerful conclusion, if you understood the impact of this transformation, then you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. Let us keep this conversation going. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Together, we can spread the light of change.